I'm ready to take this knife apart and get in there and get a good look at the individual components. And my strategy is going to be to get this bone off. So this is the side that had the cracked bone. And I think if I can pop this bone off, then I'll be able to grind the tops of these pins out and then push them out. Now, if you remember from the drawing, the patent drawings, there may be multiple pins that are running between the liners and this back piece that are pinned in from each side, but we'll just have to see. And I don't think these bolsters are so small, I don't think there's any pin in those. Those are probably just soldered or welded on, is what I'm thinking. So let's just get into this. I'm going to take this this box razor, and see if I can take advantage of this crack here. Now, like I said, I super glued the bone back in place, so it may not want to come off so easy. There it goes. Oh, yeah. I'll try to keep my hands out of the frame. I'll flip this over. Oh, there we go. All right. So there's the bone. Now, this is broken, but it shows us a little bit how it's milled out in here. So, of course, we'll have to do that for these parts. And that's what I'm really hoping. I'm really hoping I can get this knife apart in a way that I don't damage this side, so I can use this as a guide to see how that needs to be routed out. And, I mean, worst case scenario, I can just measure it and figure it out, but that's what I would like to do. So let's see if we can get up under here. All right, there came the rest of it. Now, so I'll zoom in on this here in just a second. Let's see if there's anything else to get off. There's a little piece right in there. So this is exactly like the knife that we saw in that last pattern, the mechanisms. You got your button and a little lever that comes down and interacts with the blade. And so it pivots. There's a pin going through here. Now this is interesting. You can't probably see this, but it looks like this was punched out and these are rolled up. So they're a part of this that's rolled up. I'll be soldering some tubing. It's probably some copper tubing on mine. That's how I'll do it instead of trying to roll it up like that. But as you can see here, you press that down, that comes up. And this, your spring that we saw, so how it comes across, goes up, and then goes back across. And so as I press the button, you can see it's really thin, but it's actually a pretty strong spring. So I've got to find some material that's super thin like that, but has that kind of strength. Now, it looks like in the back here that it's been pinned into place. It's got a really big, looks like it's probably like riveted instead of just pinned over. It looks like it's riveted. And so we'll see how difficult it is to get that out. I'm hoping that once I spin it out from under this button, that it'll just come out. And then this is the safety. And so this is what we saw on the patent as well. And this looks like it was one piece folded over. Now, you can tell this is probably carbon steel just because it's aged, but this is not. So this is either a piece of stainless. It could be nickel silver, I guess, but I don't know that nickel silver would keep its form and its springiness. But you can see how these two parts fit together. So that sits right in there like that and slides back and forth. So as this end slides under the button spring, like right here, it prevents the button from being able to go down. And then of course, when it slides back, then the button can go down. And one other thing that I did notice, you may not can see this on the camera just because of how dark a lot of this is, but there are pins. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There may be one up there too. But there's at least 4 pins in the liner that are pinning the liner to the back piece. And so I've got to decide what I'm going to do about that, if I'm going to do that way or not. And then I'm assuming, like I said, that these bolsters are just kind of welded on. Now, the really nice thing about having two-sided knife, and particularly the fact that these two sides match, is that I can mess up one side to get the components, and I can leave the other side as an example. Before I grind these pins down and try to get those out, I'm going to try to get as much of these components out as I can. So the first thing, I'm going to see if I can, oh yeah, well that was easy. That was super easy, getting out the spring there. And I've got a little box here that I'm just going to throw all the components in so that I don't lose them. Now, you might can see that is, you know, it's raised. So this could, maybe that's on purpose. Maybe it's so that the spring can slide in and out of it, which I really like. That is really neat, because once you slide the spring in and go under the button, let's see if I can get it back under there. Yeah, once you slide the spring in and go under the button, I mean, it's not going anywhere. So it's held really securely in there. But all I did was rotated that. I was able to get that out. Here's a super close look at the button pivot. And I don't know how well this camera's going to stay in frame, so I'm going to try to make my moves really slow. But can you see there how it's rolled up? And so my concern is that this pin in here, that maybe this was rolled up and crimped on the pin, and that's what's keeping the pin in place. Now, I've not tried to poke the pin out yet, so what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to try to poke the pin out. I'll have to get something, you know, of course, smaller. That pin does look like it's thicker on that end, which means it may be peened in on that end, or it may just not be showing. But if I can't push the pin out, then I'll have to get something up under these little tabs and force them open, which I'm not really wanting to do, but it just may be what I have to do. As I mentioned, it looks like that the pin is a little bit bigger on this side, or the head of it. It looks like there may be a head on this side and not on this side. So what I have here is just a little, this is a 1/32 inch drill bit that I use for drilling out my levers, and what I use for my rocker pin as well. And so I think this is going to be small enough to get in there, but we'll just get in from this side and see if we can push it out. Oh, here it goes, yeah. So you see there, yeah. I don't know if you can tell, but it does have a bit of a head on it. So we definitely pushed it out from the right direction. So I think I'll take my pliers, go ahead and pull it out. And then that released my little button piece. And we'll take a closer look at these components when we're ready to build them. But I think I have everything off now that I can get off. And the next thing is going to be to try to push these 3 pins out. And then I got to deal with these 4 pins right here. So not quite sure what's going to happen there. But I want to get these pins out, because what I want to do is I want to pop off this handle without damaging it. That's the goal. And I got to get these pins off in order to do that. Now, I don't know if you can see on the camera, but if I hold it a certain way, there's some shininess to some of these places in here, which makes me wonder if at one time the scale was glued on, if there was some glue under there holding it in place, and just over time it you know, let go or whatever. Because like I said, it's nice. Probably, honestly, if it's not 100 years old, it's close to 100 years old. So that's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to grind. I'll do this off camera. I'm going to grind the tops of these pins out, and then we'll see if we can force them out. Well, what I ended up doing was taking a thin Dremel cutoff wheel and just trying to cut off each of these pins down below the head. And so now I'm going to take this this little file and just kind of try to trim it up so that we can try to push them out. So let's see, I cut in from this side. Just trying to get the burr off. So you can see right there, you see that? To me that looks like glue. If you can see that shining, that kind of came off. Let's try to get these pins out. I've got this block that's got a hole in it. This is what I use when I need to knock pins out. Got a little piece of leather that I'll put over there. And we'll start with this front pin, I guess. Now, I'm thinking that these pins are probably 16th inch pins. And so I've got an old broken 16th inch drill bit that I'm going to use. And so I'm going to get on there. It's going to be a little, oh, that one's actually already moving. I might just push this out with my, yeah, I did. I pushed it out. So there, it came all the way out, which means this blade should release. Unless there's something else holding it. There does seem to be something else holding it, and I'm not sure. It could be that the liners are just kind of in around the pivot, but we'll have to wait till we get deeper into it to figure that out. So let's try this middle one. Now this middle one, let me actually open this up, because this middle one, I want to take the tension off of that auto spring. Alright, so we're going to have to do some tapping on this one. I'm sure I'm probably blocking up everything out of frame, but pardon me. It's just a little awkward. Alright, I'm going to try to take this pin and this 16th inch pin and drive this center pin out, but I'm not going to be able to do that without obstructing the view. So let's just go back, going down to the one on this end, and see if it comes out as easy as the other end. That's a little stiffer in there too. So same thing. Basically, I'm just going to put this on there, and I'm going to lightly tap it with a hammer and try to drive it out. But because it's going to obstruct the view, I'm just going to do this off camera. Before I knock these pins all the way out, I want to show you what I did. So I took this is I think a 3/64 carbide ball-end end mill, and basically just went in here and kind of scooped out the tops of these pins. And so what that's going to allow is this little drill bit to kind of stay more in place when I'm trying to pin them out. So I don't know if you recall seeing it was kind of slipping before, but just by scooping those pins out, it's going to give this end piece a place to rest. All right, let me show you what happened here. So I was able to get both of the pins out from the ends, and this one here, I was hammering on it pretty good, but it still may be a bit of a head, it wouldn't go through. But unfortunately, it broke the bone back here. Now it only cracked it, or it only broke it from here across like this, so it's a pretty clean break. So I think I can get it separated and then get this other handle separated, and I'm going to glue those pieces back together. But let's just see if this will, yeah, so that came off. So there you can see the inside, how that's milled. So that'll be a great reference. And this is still a little tight under there. Don't want to break it. There's that piece. So I'm going to work this piece off and try to get it off more without doing any more damage so I can glue it back in place. But one thing that I did notice is if you look right here, these blades have some kind of bushing, and that's what's still holding them in place. And so this piece here has to be pushed out. Now I hope that this wasn't like put in and then pressed so that it created kind of a like a lip on both sides. If it did, I may have to drill it out. Let's see what that was kind of scratched up. Let's see, I mean dirty. So anyway, that'll be the next thing that I'll have to try to do is try to get those pieces out.